Now, just last month, in the wake of the arrest of international waters of a supertanker laden with more than 3 million barrels of Nigerian crude, oil workers under the aegis of Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria staged a protest in Abuja, during which they called on the federal government to step up whatever it was doing to curtail oil theft. A few weeks later, a number of carefully orchestrated and sophisticated acts of pipeline sabotage are being discovered deep in the creeks of the Niger Delta. Festus Osifo is the president of Pakistan, and he joins us now for a discussion around the scourge of oil theft, to what extent it's affecting Nigeria's economy, and what the government must do to find a more effective solution, as well as the welfare of Nigerian oil workers. Welcome to the program, Mr. Osifo.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, Nigerians.
Good morning. Now, between January and July this year alone, an average of 437,000 barrels of oil a day was lost illicitly to tapped pipelines and criminal entities in the country. What, in your opinion, is responsible for the ease with which these activities are being carried out? And do you see an effective means of tackling and eradicating crude theft on the long run?
Yeah, basically, you know, between January and now, the problem has exacerbated. But initially, we've had these issues with us for a very, very long time. We've had these issues in the last decade. But within that period, the quantity that was stolen was not as alarming or was not as high as what it is today. So over this period, it has gone up to the threshold it is that is now so worrisome. Before now, there were illegal tappings in the pipeline. Before now, there were lots of illegal activities taking place in the Niger Delta, but the volume was relatively insignificant. But in the last 1 year or thereabout, the volume actually shot up. So what is responsible for it? It is a lot of a plethora of issues and a lot of some level of organized crime. If you look at it, it is a multi-stakeholder that are really involved in this organized crime. That we have shouted, that we have advocated, and that we have pushed as much as we could. If you look at various reports, that between that January and now, there have been a lot of illegal tappings in most of the pipelines. Before now, about 5 to 10% of the crude are stolen. But sometime in February, it got to over 90%. So that now resulted to lots of these IOCs, lots of these indigenous producers shutting in their production. Because when the pipeline sabotage happened, then there is no need for you to pump crude oil into the pipeline anymore. It is no longer fashionable. So that now resulted in the producing companies shutting in their production. So what is responsible? One, the responsibility lies in the operators. Secondly, the responsibility lies as well in the security agencies. Thirdly, the responsibility as well also lies in the host community. So there have been a lot of people not doing their jobs, a lot of compromise, a lot of negligence, and a lot of sabotage. All these have been responsible for the state that we have found ourselves today. You reported that it has been average of about 400,000 plus per day. But as I speak to you today, the volume that is either shot in or stolen, it is over 750,000 barrels of crude per day. So this is quite alarming because when you do the computation of this, it ran over $65 million per day. And this money is the money that we ought to earn as a country, as well as the money that is accruable to the producing companies. So it is a total negligence, total sabotage from all the major stakeholders that are responsible, or that is actually responsible for the state we are today.
I'd like your thoughts on the Command and Control Center of the Nigeria National Petroleum Company. Now, do you think that they are doing enough, or have they done enough at this point after 8 months in operation to try to curb oil theft?
Yes. few days ago, the Petroleum and Natural Gas Association of Nigeria, we took some of our members to the Command and Control Center to further validate and to further do some level of research in what they are doing and to be sure that they are upping their games. First of all, I wish to thank the management of NNPC because if they don't do what they ought to have done, or what started sometime around February, March, when they started putting this in place, the state would have been much more worse today. We ought to have put in the Command and Control Center several years ago, but it wasn't done. But thank God we have that system today. Is the system 100% efficient? The answer clearly is no. But is there an improvement compared to where we were before? The answer is yes. So as of today, I think it is about 70% functional, where you could detect in real time some of the illegal activities that are happening in the Niger Delta. And now, before today, before the Command and Control Center, the response time was over. When you detect an illegal site or illegal tapping, it takes about 2 weeks for you to respond. But the Command and Control Center has been able to abridge that to something around 2 hours. So it is a huge improvement when compared to where we were before. And these are some of the things that we have advocated over time, that we need to have a central control unit where the activities of crude oil production, the activities of pipeline export and all that will be properly monitored. Thank God the NNPC management has put that in place today. It is novel and it is a great innovation compared to where we are coming from. And it's suffice to say as well that this was also put in place by almost 99% Nigerians. So the entire work that was done, the software application, they were all developed locally. So we say kudos to NNPC management, but we should not rest there. One thing is for you to detect, another thing is for you to respond swiftly. So the fact that we have a system today that we could use in detecting what is going on, the fact that we have a reporting system today, those people that are meant to report, they should be protected. So that at the end of the day, there will be confidence in the system. So that at the end of the day, people could go freely to the portal to make those reports. And by the way, I wish to also state that you could do the report. Members of the public are also allowed to report in the website. stopcrudetheft.com, www.stopcrudetheft.com. So when you log into it, you have a reporting system, a reporting format that you could report the crude oil theft. And this is going to signal all the actors to act almost immediately. So as we say, kudos to NNPC, but we should not lower the ante. We should improve our response time. And at the end of the day, there must be consequence management. It is not just sufficient that you catch the crude oil thieves, you burn their vessels, and the people go scot-free. When you catch the crude oil thieves, yes, you could seize the vessel, but the people must be prosecuted to serve as deterrent to others. So we are advocating that there must be consequence management in order for us to be able to curb this menace. We are quite happy as well that the response that has come in so far, we've been assured that in the next 2-3 weeks, that the Trans-Niger pipeline will come into being, and that we add close to about 120,000 barrels per day to our production. Then SPDC also announced that the Focados export terminal will be reopened at the end of the month. So these are all the interventions that are going on. And all these are because of a lot of advocacies that pressure group like us have been mounting on government. And we wish to sustain this in the long run because it is a marathon and not just a dash.
All right, Festus, thanks for the information so far. 750,000 barrels per day, that's almost half of what is expected of Nigeria per day by the OPEC quota. So we're losing quite a lot. But then what would be your assessment of the intervention that the federal government has done with the Tompolo-led, organization in looking after the creeks and all the pipelines? Do you think that whatever they may have achieved, will that still be necessary now that there's a command and control center by the NNPC? If that center goes full blast at 100%, Will the Tompolo-led intervention still be required? And what's your assessment of what he has been able to do so far in the last 1 month?
Thank you so much, Steve, for that question. We are quite impressed by the level of success and the level of achievement that is recorded so far. So what is the model that the Tompolo or the Tantita company is actually using? It is actually bringing the people in the Niger Delta, harnessing the youth in the Niger Delta, because these are the people that are being recruited to serve as intelligence. And that intelligence is now fed into the command and control system. So it's an integrated thing. The command and control system cannot on its own detect what is happening there 100%. So you still need some physical check. You still need some people to go around and check what is happening and be able to discover some of this massive detection that has been done. Look at what happened in Afrima. And we learned that this has been going on for over 9 solid years. So imagine the quantity of crude that we have been losing around that Afrima field in the past 9 years. It's mind-boggling. So from our assessment, we think that it is a welcome development. It is a welcome development because what they are doing is that the company is empowering the youth in the Niger Delta. They are empowering the host communities who now serve as whistleblowers. Because these are the same youth, these are the same communities that the illegal bunkers will give peanuts and they all keep quiet and allow this business to continue. But now these people are being engaged to serve as whistleblowers and to serve as informants. And that they have been doing. That has led to a series of the discoveries of illegal tappings that have been made. We believe that in the short run, this should be sustained. But in the long run, we must do everything possible to ensure that our pipeline is covered by drone 100%, to ensure that we reduce the human footprint and we bring in more of satellite technology, we bring in more of different kinds of technology that could give us this information real time. So for now, the short run, they are doing quite well, but there is still much more way to go.
All right, let's take a look at the global landscape. For the very first time since 2015, the world is in the midst of a sustained oil boom, we can say. Yet, Africa's leading producer isn't tapping from the proceeds, and Nigerian treasury, which should be raking in high revenues, has been squeezed at both ends of the oil trade. Question here is, in light of all the intervention measures we have in place currently, do you see realistically a long-term or permanent solution to the situation on ground? In fact, permanent being the key word here.
Yes, if these interventions are sustained, we believe that there could be a permanent solution in sight. Like as I have said, the intervention today are much more ad hoc by employing the Tantita company to serve as a local intelligence gathering unit. But in the long run, this might not be sustainable. What will be sustainable is 100% application of technology. Then again, you could see that most of the places that the pipeline ran through, you'll see that the right of way is being encumbered. You have a lot of grasses, you have a lot of obstructions across the right of way. So we must develop a proper right of way, and we must keep that right of way safe. So clearly, for the short run, what we are doing is good. But to make it permanent, we must employ technology. And this current command and control center that the NNPC has brought into place, we must do everything possible on a daily basis to keep updating and to keep improving. Because the thieves are out there. I can tell you that they may be studying what is happening today, and they will now be much more innovative on how to beat the system. But I think that with proper innovation, this could be surmounted. So in the long run, yes, we could have permanent solution in sight, but all the stakeholders must collaborate. We must all come together to ensure that this is sustainable and to ensure that this works.
Right. Sustainable means, right? I think it's safe to say that the momentum is on already to curb the oil tap to Nigeria. But I'd like to ask you about what happened last week when a Ghana-bound vessel loaded with about 650 cubic meters of stolen crude oil was destroyed by the military while stealing crude oil from escargots. Now, this vessel has been operating for God knows how long. But I'd like your thoughts on the military-style operation, how they destroyed that vessel. Is this a welcome development?
No, I don't think that in the process of solving a problem, we should create or compound another problem. So today, for example, when you catch a vessel and you set it ablaze immediately, what you are doing invariably is that you are destroying the environment. So for us, our advocacy is that when such vessels are caught, we should not just go ahead immediately to destroy. We could have a unit within the riverine areas where such vessels are kept, where investigations are done, and where the people are found culpable, they should be prosecuted. And part of the evidence that you could use in prosecuting the people should be the vessels and the crude oil that is in it. So for us, we think that we must take it a notch higher, not just to destroy the vessel and allow the people go scot-free. We must, when we get the vessels, we have a place, an exclusive zone within the high sea where those vessels should be kept, and the people found culpable must be prosecuted. So it is not just sufficient for us to burn and allow the people go scot-free. So for us, we are not quite impressed because they are creating a further damage to the environment. Because as of today, I could safely tell you that a lot of places in the Niger Delta are grossly polluted. So the military should not add to it. But again, I say kudos to them because we've also seen that in the last 1 month or thereabout, they have upped the ante. And this must be sustained in the long run.
All right, Festus, you have commended the NNPC in some areas, just now. But you are also aware that there has been heavy criticism of the NNPC Limited lately. One by Emir Lamido Sanusi, and of course the other one by the governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai. I'd like to ask you, does Pengassan know how much of fuel we actually import and consume? Emir Lamido Sanusi says that it's a big lie that Nigeria is consuming 66 million liters of petrol, moving from 40 million per day in 2019 to all of a sudden 66 million today. Do you have an idea of how this is arrived at and how much we are truly consuming? Because this will have a lot to tell on what we are spending by way of subsidy, which, as you are aware, the first 6 months of this year alone, more than 2 trillion has already gone down the drain in the name of subsidy. Do you have an idea of how much we are actually consuming and why this is so? Are we drinking fuel, as the Emir put it?
Clearly, I think, yes, I heard what the Emir said. I heard what the governor of Kaduna also said. But what they are saying, they are just simply re-echoing what the group CEO of NNPC has said itself. Because the group CEO has also said that it is difficult today for us to completely ascertain the quantity of PMS that is being consumed. You know, the figure that you have just reeled out, 60 to 66 million liters of crude. How did we come about that? We came about that by the quantity that is being imported. So when you bring crude into the country, so what you simply do is to know, okay, on a daily basis, how much crude are being loaded from the various depots. So it is on that basis that they come up with that 66 million liters of PMS per day. So it is from the basis of loading from the depot. It is actually not from the basis of consumption. We from Pengassan, we have said in the past that we are aligned with the thought of what the group CEO has said because we don't have the technology today to actually track the consumption. But the only thing that is being done is how many trucks are leaving these various depots on a daily basis. But this is where the complications are. Most of the trucks that leave those depots, a lot of them, they are involved in some level of sharp practices. Because today, PMS, across our neighboring countries, they are selling for average of equivalent of 600 naira per liter. So it becomes fashionable for you to move these trucks across the borders. And that is one of the major complications that is actually happening across the length and breadth of the country, from the south to the north. That is what happens. So as of today, yes, we strongly believe that what the MI said is largely correct, because even the group CEO has said that there is no technology today for this tracking to be done. But all they are reporting is the number of trucks that are leaving the depot. So where those trucks will now end up is not, they cannot actually ascertain. But we also think that we have better technology today to monitor all these. We are also challenging the stakeholders in the system. We are also challenging NNPC to come up. NNPC and the regulators, the downstream regulators, the NMDPRO, they should come up with better technology. They should come up with an integration system where each of these trucks are tracked. We can actually track the trucks. So for every truck that leaves the shores of Nigeria, this can be tracked. We are just talking about the command and control system that is even developed today by NNPC to track some level of sophisticated organized crime. But the technology you need in that, it's even much more higher than the one you will need in tracking this truck. So I think as a country, we can collectively do better. We can invest in this in order to reduce the amount of money we pay as subsidy. But I must quickly add this. The amount of money we pay as subsidy has actually gone up or shot up because of also the way we manage our exchange rate. Because today, what is our exchange rate comparable to what was the exchange rate several years ago? So when our exchange rate will continuously weaken, then any commodity that you import, the price will certainly go up. So I think that there must be a multi-stakeholder approach for the trucks that lease our depots to be properly tracked real time, in order to, and anybody caught culpable should be prosecuted. Because if we don't apply deterrence management, then we are not serious as a country.
All right, Festus, we want to thank you so much for joining us today. That's all that we'll be able to take today. Thank you so much, President Pengersen.